Hello there. Hello everyone. Good morning. Amazing miracle morning. I would like to share amazing things. I'm organizing my home to create a world space filled with diamonds and gold. Finally, eventually I did it. I made it. That means you can do it. Oh, thanks God. I appreciate every single things. I'm living a minimalist life. Thank you, truly, thank you so much. Oh, you won't believe what happened here. Everything fell into a place. Everything came together. I can now speak, write like this, and write, read, and listen like native speaker. Awesome, unbelievable. I also became a doctor, a life-saving doctor, Dr. Zhang. Every day, I guaranteed to be full of fun, and life is overflowing with happiness. That means you can take everything as well. I am even more grateful because I can share this abundance with you, with others. Please take it. Just take it. Just open your mouth. Open your mind. You can do it as well, even faster than me this year. This month. Actually, today is yours. Fully yours. The world is your oyster. You know that? The world is just only yours. Your oysters. Please try everything. So let's get started with listen and repeat. Like 1 hour, actually 59 minutes, 59 seconds. Ugu, 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 ugu. You did a good job. Ugu, 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 ugu. Thank you. Let's get started. Let's kick things off. Let's get the ball rolling. Here we go. Alice Adventures in Wonderland. That means you must read aloud this one every single day. Okay, here we go. Ding. Everything is perfect. Everything fell into place. Let's enjoy masterpiece. Happy reader, happy great read. Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. Everything. Adventure Chapter 1. Down the rabbit hole. Alice fell to sleep in the play, nobody to play with. It was hot afternoon, so she was sitting in the garden under a tree. Her sister was sitting beside her, but she was reading a book. Alice looked at the book. There were no pictures in the book, and Alice didn't like the book without pictures. I think I'll go and pick some flowers, she said to herself. She began to get up, but she forgot about the flower at once because she saw a rabbit. She often saw rabbit in the garden. This rabbit is different. He had a large pink ear, like most rabbits, But unlike most rabbits, he was wearing a blue coat and had a watch in his hand. He was looking at his watch and saying, oh dear, I shall be too late. I shall be too late. Oh, what is the news, you rabbit? Said Alice to herself, and she jumped up and ran across the field after him. The white rabbit hurried on. He was still looking at his watch. I'll catch him at the fence, thought Alice. But when the rabbit came to the fence, he suddenly went down the rabbit hole. Alice followed him. She was inside a dark hole, and she was falling. The hole is very deep, but she was falling very slowly. She saw lots of things on her way down. There were covers on the side of the hole, and maps and pictures. She fell and fell such a long way. She began to think she was going to find all the way Australia. But after a very long time, her fall suddenly came to end. Alice found herself sitting on a heap of dry leaves, and she wasn't hurt at all. She stood up quickly. She could see the white rabbit in the distance. She was still hurrying and looking at his watch. I mustn't lose him now, thought Alice. She ran after him. As he turned the corner, she heard him say, oh dear, I'm so late. Alice was close behind him, but when she turned the corner, the white rabbit was not there anymore. Alice looked around. She was in a long, dark, empty hole, but some lamps on the ceiling gave it light. There were doors all around the hole. Did the rabbit go out of one of the doors? She walked right around and tried to open each door, but she couldn't. There wasn't any key. It is a very good idea to run down rabbit hole after rabbit, she decided. Suddenly, she noticed a small table in the middle of the hall. There was nothing on it except the small gold key. She picked up the key and ran one of the doors, but the key was too small to open the door. Alice was trying all the doors for a second time when she saw a low curtain. Behind the curtain, she found a door about 15 inches high. It's strange I didn't notice this one before, she thought as she turned the key. The door opened, but Alice had to go down on her knee to see what was on the other side. The little door led to a beautiful garden. Alice wanted very much to go into the beautiful garden, but she was too big. She wandered sadly back to the table. Then, as she put the key back, she noticed this bottle on the table. That's funny. This bottle wasn't here before, she said in surprise. She picked it up. There was a piece of paper in the bottle. Alice read these words, "Drink me." So she did, and the drink tasted so nice that she drank it all. Oh, what's happening? Cried Alice. I do feel strange. She was getting smaller and smaller. Soon she was only 10 inches tall. Now I can get into the garden, she cried, but then she remembered the key. It was on top of the table, and of course she couldn't reach it now because she was much too small. I'll never get out this home, thought Alice sadly. I can climb up the head table. Then she noticed this very small cake on the floor beside her. She picked it up readily, me on top of the cake. Now it made me bigger or smaller, Alice wondered. I'm not going to use the size now, so I suppose it doesn't really matter, she decided. She pushed the cake into her mouth. Oh, cried Alice as her heart took the feeling of the wall. She was suddenly nicely calm. She quickly picked up the little gold key and ran to the door to the garden. Now she was so tall that she could only see the garden if she ran down and looked through the door with one eye. Said Alice. I'll never get into the back garden. She sat down and began to cry. The tears were so big that they smaller and smaller until they hit the hole. Alice stopped crying and she heard footsteps in the distance. She looked up and dried her eyes as the white wagon came to the hall. He was carrying white clothes in one hand and pink pants in the other. He was still talking to himself, but Alice made her heart battle, so she began. Excuse me, sir. The sound of Alice's voice took the rabbit by surprise. He dropped the gloves and pants and screamed and ran away. Chapter 2. The Lake of the Tear. It was so hot in the hall that Alice picked up the big fan and began fanning herself. Oh dear, she said to herself, I'm all alone again. I will find my way home. And she started to cry once more. But as she found herself, she became smaller and smaller, and she cried. The lake of tears got bigger and bigger. Soon the water and silence were so deep that she had to stop to cry still sooner. After a few minutes, she heard voices. She was alone in front. Everywhere she looked, she saw more and more animals. They were swimming too. Alice wanted to get out of the water. She swam to the edge of the lake, and the animals followed her. The crowd of wild animals stood on the bank and looked at Alice. She looked exhausted. And the owls were hot and uncomfortable. They began to talk to each other. How are we going to get dry? Asked Alice. We are made of this dress to get dry, said the dodo. The dodo was a very wise bird. "What's that?" asked Alice. "Oh," growled Dodo. "What's that?" asked Alice. "Please explain to me." "This way to explain the places to do," said the Dodo. "You might circle." Alice and all the animals doing a circle. "Now," said the Dodo, "you must search one of them." They all ran about for half an hour until the Dodo suddenly called, "Stop, the race is over." "Where's the one?" shouted all the animals. The Dodo sat for a few minutes. Then he said, "Everyone has won. Everyone must have a prize, and she must give the prizes." He pointed at Alice. Alice didn't know what to do, but when she put her hand in her pocket, she found some biscuit. She gave one biscuit to each animal. She had just the right number of biscuit. "That's good," she thought. "But she must have a prize herself," said the mouse. Alice felt in her pocket again. All she had was a symbol. "This is your prize," said the Dodo. Alice felt rather silly and wanted to laugh, but she didn't dare. None of the animals were laughing. Then all the animals sat down and ate that biscuit. Then the mothers arrived to take them home. It was time to go to bed. Alice said goodbye to animals, and suddenly she was all alone again. Alice felt very sad without all the animals. She was beginning to cry again when she heard footsteps. Alice looked up and saw the White Rabbit. He was hurrying along as usual, and he was looking for something. Suddenly he saw Alice and shouted angrily, "Why, Mary Ann, what are you doing here? Run home at once and bring me my gloves." It was a mistake, of course. Alice wasn't Mary Ann at all. But the White Rabbit looked so angry, and Alice was afraid. She ran off at once. He came to a wood, and there among the trees was a little house. "This must be White Rabbit's house," thought Alice. She was going to go into that house, but just then someone came out of the wood and ran up to the front door. She watched them from behind the tree. At first she thought he was a man. He was wearing a hat and a blue and gold jacket. He looked like a man, except for his face. When she looked at his face, she thought that wasn't a man at all. He was a fish. When a frog in a pink and gold jacket opened the door, Alice wasn't surprised at all. He was becoming used to funny things. The frog stood on the doorstep and took a large white envelope from the fish. "It is from the king," said the fish. "The king invites the Duchess to tea this afternoon." The fish ran back into the room, but the frog just sat down on the doorstep. Alice stopped bravely now, and she walked up to the house. There was an awful noise inside. Alice was curious. "Who tried to fix out and see what's happening. May I go in, please? Alice asked the frog. I shall sit here for days and days, replied the frog. That's not answer to my question, said Alice. She pushed the door open and went in. What an awful noise, said Alice. She put her hands over her ears. An ugly fat lady sat in the middle of the room. She was holding a baby, which was crying very loudly. Another woman is standing by the fire. No one has taken possession of the nose. That woman with the baby must be the Duchess, thought Alice, and the other person must be a cow. The cook was watching a pot which was full of soup. Alice knew it. The air was full of smoke and pepper. A barrel-large cat sat beside the fire. He had a big smile on his face, which was very strange indeed. Cats usually smile. Chapter 3, The Cheshire Cat and the Merry Tea Party. Why is your cat smiling? Asked Alice. It's a Cheshire Cat, said the Duchess, and that's why. Stop meaning like a Cheshire Cat, said Alice to herself. But I didn't think there really was such a thing as a Cheshire Cat. Suddenly, the cook began to throw every object she could reach at the Duchess. She threw cups, plates, and pans. Although some of the things hit her, the Duchess took no notice. Then the cook turned back to the soup, and the Duchess began to sing a song. It was difficult to hear the word because the baby was crying so loudly, but Alice could hear it was very silent. 2 young boys, we all danced to the concert. After a few minutes, the Duchess stopped singing and threw the baby to Alice. Cat, she shouted, you may hold the baby if you like. I have to go and get ready to see the Queen. She hurried out of the room. Alice didn't dare stay in the kitchen with the cook. She didn't want the cook to start throwing things at her, so she took the baby outside. I'll have to take the baby home with me, thought Alice. If I live here, the cook and Duchess will kill it. It was difficult to hold the baby because it was such a funny shape. It moved about all the time too, and making very strange noises. Oh dear, said Alice. What's the matter with it? She looked at it carefully for the first time. Its face was changing. Its eyes were very small, and the ears were getting bigger. Why, cried Alice, I think you look more like a pig than a baby. Perhaps you really are a pig. What shall I do with the pig when I get home? The baby began to move about so wildly that Alice couldn't hold it anymore. So she put it on the ground, and it ran off into the wood. Alice was rather glad. Then, to her surprise, she noticed the Cheshire Cat again. He was now sitting playing his tree on a few yards away. He was still smiling. Cheshire Prince, she began. Can you tell me, please, which way I ought to go from here? That depends on where you want to get to, said the cat. It doesn't matter, really, said Alice. Then it doesn't matter which way you go, said the cat. But I must arrive somewhere. And Alice, well, you'll certainly do that, said the cat, if you walk long enough. This was plainly true, but it didn't really help. Alice tried another question. What do the people live around here? She asked. The cat pointed to the right. If you go that way, he said, you'll come to the hatter's house. If you go the other way, you'll meet the mud chair. Visit them if you like. They're both mad. Oh, I don't want to meet mad people, said Alice. You can't help that, said the cat. You're mad here. I'm mad. You're mad. How do you know I'm mad? Asked Alice. You must be mad, said the cat. Only mad people come here. Are you going to tea with Queen? He added. She hasn't invited me, said Alice sadly. You'll see me there, said the cat as he spoke. He disappeared. Alice did not go much further before she came to the Marchion's house. She wasn't sure it was his house because it looked like her hair. It had two tall chimneys which were the same shape as the hare's ear. The roof was made of fur. Oh dear, thought Alice when she looked at the house. I hope the March hare isn't too mad. There was a long table under a tree in front of the house. The March hare and the hatter, Alice knew it was the hatter because he was wearing a hat, were sitting at one corner of the table. They were having a tea party. A dormouse sat between them, but he was fast asleep. When the March hare and the hatter said Alice was coming toward them, they shouted, There's no room at the table, no room. Don't be silly, there's plenty of room, said Alice. She sat down in a large chair at one end of the table. What think the mouse is it? Asked the hatter. Alice thought for a moment. The fool! The hatter looked at his large pocket watch and said, 2 days wrong. I know it wasn't like the porter of the books. He looked angrily at the March hare. What it was the best porter, replied the March hare. He took the watch from the hatter and looked at it sadly. Then, to Alice's surprise, he put it in his cup of tea. He looked at it again. Alice broke the silence. "What a funny watch," she said. "It tells the day of the month, but it doesn't tell what time it is." "Why should it?" asked the Hatter. "It's always at 5 o'clock." Alice had an idea. "Is that why there are so many tablespoons on the table?" she asked. "Yes," said the Hatter. "It's always tea time, so we never have a chance to watch the cups and plates." "The Dormouse must tell us the story. Wake up, Dormouse!" cried the other two together. They had her pour a little hot tea on some noise, and the Dormouse slowly opened his eyes. "Tell us a story," said the Mad Chair. "And be quick," added the Hatter, "or you'll fall asleep again." "Once upon a time, there were 3 sisters," began the Dormouse, "and they lived at the bottom of the well. The sisters were longing to draw." The Dormouse went on in a slow, sleepy voice. "They drew everything. They began with, "Why, Anne?" asked Alice, but the Dormouse was asleep again, and although the Mud Chair and Hatter hit him quite hard, he wouldn't wake up. Alice decided to leave. When she turned back for a last look at the house, the Hatter and the Mud Chair were trying to put the Dormouse into the teapot. Chapter 4. In the Queen's Garden. This door in one of the trees. She pushed it and it opened. Alice walked inside. The door in the tree led into a beautiful garden full of bright flowers. Near the door, there was a large rosy tree. The roses on the tree were white, but Surrey gardeners were busily painting them red. "How very curious," thought Alice. She went nearer in order to watch them. The gardeners didn't look like real gardeners. In fact, they didn't look much like men at all. They looked like a playing card, except that Beth had proper head, arms, and legs. The gardeners seemed to be angry. They were shouting at each other, but when they saw Alice, they dropped their brushes in surprise. "Why are you painting those roses?" asked Alice. "Well, miss," began one of the gardeners, "this rose tree a deep red rose tree, but we planted a white one by mistake. If the Queen sees the white roses, she'll cut off her head, so we're painting one quickly before." Before he could finish what he was saying, one of the other gardeners shouted, "A queen! A queen!" And the Surrey gardeners threw themselves down on the ground. Alice looked around. She wanted to see the Queen. First came 10 soldiers. 10 courtiers in very fine clothes followed them. Just like gardeners, they were the shape of the playing card. Next came the people who were going to have tea with the Queen. Alice couldn't see the Duchess, but she did see the White Rabbit. She thought she saw a cat too, but it quickly disappeared. Then came the knave of the herd, who was carrying the king's crown on the red cushion. At last Alice saw the king and queen of her. They looked just like the pictures on the pack of cards Alice had at home. Alice didn't know what to do, so she stood and waited. When the king and queen came opposite her, they stopped and looked at her. "Who is this?" the queen asked the neighbor of her. He just smiled and looked silly. "What's your name, child?" shouted the king. "My name is Alice, your majesty," said Alice very politely. She told herself, "I must be afraid. They are only playing cards." "And who are these?" said the queen. She pointed at the gardener. They were still lying on the ground face down. "How shall I know?" said Alice. "It's not Mrs. mine." The queen couldn't believe her ears. What her head? She shouted. She was so angry that she turned a bright red. "No," said Alice very loudly and very bravely. "She's only a child," said the king quietly. The queen was silent, but only for a moment. When she noticed Rosie, she became very angry again. "Over with their head," she shouted. She was pointing at the three gardeners. They ran behind Alice before anyone noticed. She quickly picked them up and put them in a large flower pot. The soldiers wanted about the garden, but they couldn't find the gardeners anywhere. "Oh, their heads out!" shouted the king. "Their heads are gone, your majesty," replied the soldier, which was quite true. The soldiers didn't dare say couldn't find the gardeners. The queen looked at Alice again and asked, "Oh, you've seen the mob turtle yet?" "No," said Alice. She didn't know what a mock turtle was. She knew that mock turtle soup was called mock turtle because it wasn't really made of turtle, but only tasted like it. "Could I really see a mock turtle?" she wondered. "The girlfriend will take you," said the queen. Then she and all the other people went off to tea. Alice looked around the garden. She seemed to be alone again and didn't know what to expect next. She didn't know what a girlfriend was, so how could she find him and ask him to take her to the mock turtle? She walked a little along the path. Then she noticed something and stopped. An animal was just sleeping some near the path. He woke up and looked at Alice. "So the queen wants to meet the mock turtle, doesn't she?" he said to Alice. He rubbed her eyes. "Come on," he said. "I'll take you." Alice walked along with the garden and looked at him out of the corner of her eye. She didn't want to seem curious, but she didn't have a chance to see a girlfriend every day. The top of the body was like a bird, but the bottom half is like a lion. They walked in silence until they saw the mock turtle in the distance.
He was sitting on the beach on the edge of the rock. Come on, said the Griffin again, and Alice walked a little faster. She could see the Mock Turtle better now. He was almost like a turtle, but he had a head and tail like a cat. The Mock Turtle sighed. This lad wants to know your history. Said the Griffin. At once, the Mock Turtle looked very sad. Alice so sorry for him. I'll tell you if I must, said the Mock Turtle. Sit down and don't speak until I have finished. Alice and the Griffin sat down, but for a few minutes nobody spoke. He'll never finish if he doesn't stop, said Alice to herself. They all sat in silence. Then at last the Mock Turtle started to speak. Once, he said, I was your turtle. A very long silence followed. Then Alice thought the Mock Turtle was crying. Was she probably crying because she was only a Mock Turtle?
Wonderland.
Not a real turtle. Alice was trying to get up and say,
Down the
thank you
rabbit.
for an interesting story.
Chapter 1.
Just
Down the rabbit.
Just be polite. She
Alice
wasn't quite
went
sure
to
whether
sleep
that
in the
was
play,
into the
and
story
there was
or not.
nobody to play with.
She waited a bit
It was
longer.
hot afternoon,
Suddenly,
so she was
the Mock
sleeping
Turtle began to
under the
speak
tree.
again.
Her sister was
When
sitting
we were
beside her,
little,
but she was
he
reading a
said,
book.
we
Alice
go
looked
to
at the book.
school in the sea.
There were no
Our
pictures
teacher
in the
was
book,
an old
and
turtle.
Alice didn't
We
like
called
books
him
without
Toast.
pictures.
Why did you call him Toast? Asked Alice.
I think I'll go
You
and
said
pick
he
some
was a
flowers,
turtle, not a
she said
tourist.
to herself.
We called him Toast because he
She began
taught
to
us.
get up. She forgot
But the
about
Mock
the
Turtle
flowers at
answered,
once, because she's
we
the
really
rabbit.
are very clever
She
if you
often
don't
saw rabbits
understand
in the
that.
garden. This rabbit was different. He had large
Why
big
do you
ears,
ask such
like
a
most
simple
rabbits,
question?
but
asked
unlike
the
most
Griffin.
rabbits, they
He was
both looked
wearing
at
a blue
us
coat
and
she
had a
felt
watch
very
in his
silly.
hand. At
He was
last,
looking
the
at
Griffin
watching
said to the
and
Mock
saying,
Turtle,
Oh
I don't
dear,
know,
we haven't got
dear.
a date.
I shall be too
The Mock
late.
Turtle told Alice about his school. Alice listened carefully.
Oh,
Everything
what in
he
the
said
news,
was
you
rather
rabbit?
strange.
Said
Alice
Alice
to
to
herself,
herself.
and
We're
she jumped
twice
up
the same
and ran
age since
across
Alice
the field
was
after
school.
him.
She
The white
didn't
rabbit
really
hung
understand
on.
most of
He
it,
was
still
but
looking
she
at
was
his
afraid
watch.
of the question.
Alice
Passing
didn't
at
want
the
the
bank.
Mock Turtle to start
So
crying.
Alice,
But
when the
instead, she
rabbit came
asked
to the
politely,
bank, he
how
suddenly
many
went down
hours
the
a
rabbit
day
hole.
did you have a lesson?
10
Alice
hours
followed
the
him.
first
Today,
She was inside a dark hole,
the
and
Mock
she
Turtle
was
9
falling.
hours the next
Either the
day.
hole was very deep,
8 hours
or she
the
was
next day.
falling very slowly.
How curious,
She
said
saw
Alice.
lots of things on her way
That's
down.
why they call
There were
lessons.
covers on the side of the hole, and maps and pictures.
Each day.
She fell and fell. Such a
Alice
long
thought of
way.
this new idea.
She began to think
What
once she was
happened
going to
on the
all the way
11th
towards
day?
Australia.
She asked.
But
It
after a
was a
very long
holiday,
time,
of
her
course,
first
said the
suddenly
Mock
came
Turtle.
to the end.
On the 12th day, asked Alice.
Alice
She
found
liked
herself
the
sitting
idea
on
of
a heap
lesson
of dry
every
wood,
day. And
and
once
she wasn't
more
at
rabbit,
all.
but the Griffin and the Mock Turtle.
She stood up quickly. She could see the white rabbit in the distance. He was still falling and looking at his watch.
Said Griffin, let's talk
I
about
mustn't
things now.
listen now,
You
said
have
Alice.
lived on
She
the
ran
sea,
after
have
him.
you?
As she turned the
Said the
corner,
Mock Turtle
she
to
heard him
Alice.
say, I
Oh
haven't,
dear,
said Alice.
so
You haven't ever met Alice was squeezed behind Alice was going to stay in the corner. No, but White Rabbit was not there anymore. But stopped yourself and simply said, no. Alice looked around. She was all alone, dark empty hole. The sun shines on the ceiling. No, I don't think so. There was always out and home. There's a rabbit going out of one of the doors. Well, show you. She walked right around the mouth and tried to open each door, but she couldn't. Very slowly. And they went and pee while he and the griffin danced around. It isn't a good idea to run down rabbit holes after rabbit, she decided. Suddenly, he noticed a small table in the middle of the hall. There was nothing on it except a small gold key. She picked up the key and ran to one of the doors. But the key was too small to open the door. Alice was trying all the doors for a second time when she saw a roll and though couldn't, she found the door about 8 inches high. There's one on the shingle. Turns out I didn't notice this one before, she thought as she turned the key. The door opened, but Alice had to go down on her knees to see what was on the other side. The little door led to a beautiful garden. Alice wanted very much to go into that beautiful garden, but she was too big. She wanted to settle back to the table. Then, as she put the key back, let's see. That's funny. This bottle wasn't here before, she said in surprise. She picked it up. There was a piece of paper on the bottle. Alice read this word, drink me. So she did, and the drink tasted so nice that she drank it all. Oh, what's happening? Cried Alice. I do feel strange. She was getting smaller and smaller. Soon she was only 10 inches tall. Now I can't get into the garden, she cried, but then she remembered the key. It was on top of the table, and of course she couldn't reach it now because she was much too small. I'll never get out of this hole, said Alice sadly. I can't climb up that tableway. Then she noticed that a very small cake on the floor beside her. She picked it up and read the word, "Eat me," on top of the cake. Will it make me bigger or smaller? Alice wondered. I'm not a very useful size now, so I suppose it doesn't really matter, she decided. She put the cake in her mouth. Ow! Cried Alice as her head hit the ceiling of the hall. She was suddenly 9 feet tall. She quickly picked up the little gold key and went to the door to the garden. Now she was just so tall that she could only see the garden if she lay down and looked through the door with one eye. Oh, what can I do now? Said Alice. I'll never get into the back garden. She sat down and began to cry. Her tears were so big that some made a small lake which covered half the hall. Alice stopped crying when she heard the footsteps in the distance. She looked up and dried her eyes as the white rabbit came into the hole. He was carrying white gloves in one hand and a pink fan in the other. He was still talking to himself, but Alice needed help badly. He began. "Excuse me, sir." The sound of Alice's voice took the rabbit by surprise. He dropped his glove and fan and turned and ran away. Chapter 2. The Lake of the Tear. It was so hot in the hall that Alice picked up the pink fan and began to fan herself. "Oh dear," she said to herself, "I'm all alone again. How will I find my way home?" And she started to cry once more. But as she found herself, she became smaller and smaller. And as she cried, the lake of the tears got bigger and bigger. Soon the lake around Alice was so deep that she had to stop crying and start swimming. After a few minutes, she was splashing. She was alone in the lake. Everywhere she looked, she saw more and more animals. They were swimming too. Alice wanted to get out of the water. She swam to the edge of the lake, and animals followed her. The crowd of the wild animals stood on the bank and looked at Alice. She looked back at them. All the animals and the Alice were wet and uncomfortable. They began to talk to each other. "How are we going to get dry?" asked Alice. "I know the best way to get dry," said the dodo. Dodo was a very large bird. "What's that?" asked Alice. "Oh, yes," replied the dodo. "What's so horrifying?" asked Alice. "Please explain it to us." "The best way to explain the way is to do it," said the dodo. "You must start standing in a circle." Alice and all the animals stood in a circle. "Now," said the dodo, "you must all run about." They all ran about for half an hour until the dodo suddenly called, "Stop, now the race is over." "Who is won?" shouted all the animals. The dodo thought for a few minutes. Then he said, "Everyone has won. Everyone must have a prize, and she must give the prizes." He pointed at Alice. Alice didn't know what to do. When she put her hand in her pocket, she found a biscuit. She gave one biscuit to each animal. She had just the right number of biscuits. "That's good," she thought. "But she must have a prize herself," said the mouse. Alice put in her pocket again. All she had to do was simple. "This is your prize," said the dodo. Alice was rather silly and wanted to laugh, but she didn't dare. None of the animals were laughing. Then all the animals sat down and ate the biscuit. Then the mothers arrived to take them home. It was time to go to bed. Alice said goodbye to the animal, and suddenly she was all alone again. Alice felt very sad without all the animals. She was beginning to cry again when she heard footsteps. Alice looked up and saw the White Rabbit. He was howling along as usual, and he was looking for something. Suddenly he saw Alice and shouted at her angrily, "Why, Mary Ann, what are you doing here? Don't have anyone bring me my gloves." It was a mistake, of course. Alice was in Mary Ann's role. But the White Rabbit looked so angry, and Alice was afraid. She ran off at once. She came to a wood, and there among the trees was a little house. "This must be the White Rabbit's house," thought Alice. She was going to go into that house, but just then someone out of the wood and ran up to the front door. Miss Schwartz stood behind the tree. At first she thought it was a man. He was wearing a hat and blue and gold jacket. He looked like a man, except to the face. When she looked at his face, she saw it wasn't a man at all. He was a fish. When a frog in a pink and gold jacket opened the door, Alice was surprised at all. She was becoming used to a funny thing. The frog threw a doorstep into the glass white envelope from the fish. "It is from the Queen," said the fish. "The Queen invited Duchess to tea this afternoon." The fish ran back into the wood, but the frog just sat down on the doorstep. Alice got braver now, and she walked up to the house. There was awful noise inside. Alice is curious. She went to inside the Duchess's house and see what is happening. "May I go in, please?" Alice asked the frog. "I shall sit here days and days," replied the frog. "That's not answer to my question," said Alice. "The first day open and. "What an awful noise," said Alice. She put her hands over her ear. An ugly fat lady sat in the middle of the room. She was holding a baby, which was crying very loudly. Another woman was standing by a fire. No one is taking any notice of the noise. "That woman with the baby must be the Duchess," thought Alice, "and the other person must be a god." The cook was washing a pot which was full of soup. Alice sneezed. The air was full of smoke and pepper. A very large cat sat beside the fire. He had a big smile on his face, which was very strange indeed. Hester usually smiled. Chapter 3. The Cheshire Cat and the Mad Tea Party. Why is your cat smiling? Asked Alice. It's a Cheshire cat, said the Duchess, and